I have a link to the.
Hold on.
After this video, I'm gonna go get a Grand Mac. I haven't had one in a long time.
I just put it in the chat.
LP. You and the Grand Max, LT.
I haven't had one in a long time.
Wait, James, you put it in chat?
You know that Grand Mac is just Grand Pink Slime, right?
Hey, there's a weird, like, what's going on there? Like, did anyone else hear that?
What?
Hear what?
Yeah, I don't hear what you're talking about, JB.
There's like a weird. I'm hearing like weird lag where like I'm now hearing stuff like that's been talked about already.
What?
Like,
yeah, like I was here, like I heard myself talking from like 10 seconds ago.
That's weird. I don't hear
I got nothing over here.
Okay,
Me
that's
either.
just me. But yes, I put it in the chat. I put it in this Skype chat. I put the link to the video.
Alright, cool.
Okay, so we ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
James? James?
I'm ready. I think we're like live already or something because Thunderclap was saying they can hear us. I think that's what I was hearing from the video.
Oh,
Wow. Okay. So
Hello,
yeah,
everybody.
we might as well start. All right.
Hey everyone. We just got we got technical failures all over the place today.
Oh my God, this is crazy. All right. Didn't even realize you guys can hear us. This is crazy. Technical difficulties indeed. Valor Morghulis, everybody. Hype Swatch back again for another a Slogan Vice and Fire epic reread. And as you can see, you can't see us today. We decided to go dark for, I don't know, reasons. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, we are here to talk about the last chapter for the Lord Commander Jon Snow in Dance with Dragons. So, of course, we got the regulars with us today. JB, Sir LT, and last but certainly not least, Jerry. So, yeah, man. Wait, whose chapter was this again?
LT's.
LT's chapter.
yeah, I voted it in. Well, I nominated it. I mean,
Okay, cool. So, LT, would you like to set us off with a description of the chapter, sir?
well, this is John's last chapter. He's trying to do a mission to Hardhome, and a lot of different things go on. I know for me, reading this book for the first time, I know, like, and the show definitely spoils it, but I mean, I didn't think Jon was gonna die in the show. Obviously, the show spoils it, him getting stabbed. But I don't know about you guys and everybody in the chat and just in the Game of Thrones community, but I was like, damn, George, all these Starks you're taking out, and I know Jon's not technically a Stark, but I consider him a Stark, And I just want to know about everybody else, your first time reading it, how shocked you were, because I didn't see this coming. I did not see Jon getting stabbed. I mean, I obviously, when you read it more and you read the books over and over again, you see things coming then. But I did not see this coming, man. What about you guys?
No, I didn't see it coming. I was kind of like thinking towards like, okay, maybe Jon's the dude, but then he got stabbed. I'm like, well, I guess not. I mean, it took. We'll get into it later, but that was my initial feeling from the top. I'm like, well, there he goes.
James.
I mean,
I was pretty surprised. I had it kind of spoiled for me going into it, but just the thought that would happen was pretty surprising to me. Definitely. Now, when I was reading the chapter, I didn't necessarily see it coming, but it's definitely one of the biggest surprises of the whole series.
That was something that was spoiled for me. Just the fact that he does die. The how, not necessarily so much. And so when I actually got to it, it was shocking to say the least. And then especially the way that that things kind of led up to it, it was a shock because it really came out of nowhere. It wasn't something that was necessarily overly foreshadowed. I mean, you get the stuff that happens with Melisandre telling him to make sure to keep the wolf close, but it wasn't,
daggers in the night.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing that it wasn't a thing that you really expected, only because, like, all right, well, if you kill off Jon, how many people do you really have left to root for?
Mm-hmm.
Not many.
All right, so
and go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, LT.
I was just gonna say it's not like he was being a douchebag. He said he's not gonna ask his men to do that, and he wasn't asking himself, and he wasn't trying to command anybody, and they still stab him. It pisses me off.
Well, we'll get into that, but should we start from the beginning where he's talking with Selyse here? He's having a discussion with her.
Yeah,
Selyse is so annoying.
Yeah, Selyse is up there telling Jon about what he needs to do, and why he shouldn't be trying to save wildlings, and who should be marrying who, and all that other kind of stuff. And like when we get into Jon's head, it's really a thing of him kind of like, oh man, like it's almost like the way he's listening to it, it comes off as Selyse just saying like blah 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 blah, and Jon is doing his best to not bark on her, because I mean it wouldn't be good for him to yell at Stannis' queen. I mean that's kind of the impression that I got.
I think one of the big problems here with Selyse, and it's a big problem with a lot of people in Westeros. I mean, lots of people like Caitlyn, even Ned, like a lot of them, they have a real hard time of seeing. Huh?
Are you saying that she has that entitlement? That's why she's like that?
Not so much the entitlement. It's just they have a hard time of seeing things seeing things differently than the way that they were brought up. The way that there's the system that they're in. The whole, this is how nobles do. This is how women act. This is how the structure goes. She's having a real hard time. Like Jon, for all the devolving the stupid that Jon does throughout the series, he is one of the few that has like a little bit of a progressive mind, to where he's able to see the different. He's able to figure out the wildling culture and like say, okay, how it's different from the culture of Westeros, the Seven Kingdom culture. A lot of people aren't able to do that, and Selyse is right here. This is a perfect example where she just doesn't like the way they're talking about Garrett Kingsblood, or they think that he's that the line of succession works and that he should be the new king of the wildlings here. And I mean, if you understand wildling culture, it's just laughable. And you see it also again when Selyse is talking about the marriages here, particularly the one with Val that Selyse is trying to set up. So I think that's part of what makes her so annoying, is, and a lot of people and a lot of characters in the series so annoying, is that she just has a hard time understanding other cultures.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a reoccurring theme, especially in Westeros. Like not even only the wildlings, they view the the civilizations of Essos as lesser or more savage. And I think not trying to get political or anything, but this is I think sort of George obviously is a progressive, and I think this is kind of him saying like you have a younger, more progressive generation trying to waylay his sensibilities onto even much more than today's age, a older, extremely conservative, xenophobic group. And it's just this is to see like what extremes. There's different extremes here that's in play, and obviously we see the end result. Though there was some other implications with what happened to Jon. But yeah, with Selyse, she definitely has. I mean, I will say that her character in the book is more annoying than it is in the show. Actually, and her character in the show is pretty annoying. But to me, she did kind of have. I actually think she kind of has a sense of entitlement more than she deserves personally, and she's very posh and arrogant, and I don't really like her personally. But yeah, it's a terse exchange, and I just don't really like Selyse at all. Even though I'm a Stannis fan, I do not like his wife one bit. Never have, or any of the Florents either, for that regard.
Oh, how dare you! How could you talk about your king's in-laws in such a foul manner, sir? How dare you?
To be fair, I don't think Stannis likes Selyse much either.
Stannis doesn't like anyone, though. Let's be honest.
But I mean, he would do his duty once a year to sleep with her. Yeah, he definitely doesn't like her.
I mean, listen, Stannis has so many issues. It is I don't know, man. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure why so many people like Stannis my damn self. I'll be like, he's not a very likable guy.
Well, we can have that.
Because he's not a likable guy doesn't mean he's not doing everything right, though. I mean, Robert Baratheon was a likable guy, but we know what kind of fucked up shit he was pulling. So,
I'll say we could definitely have that conversation on a different video.
Yeah,
that would be a long topic.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so it was pretty interesting though about the whole connection to Raymond Redbeard and the fact that it's like they groomed him. They probably taught him a couple of the Southern courtesies and what you're supposed to do when you're addressing certain people, and because they have this way of looking at the world, they're like, oh well, yeah, well obviously he's king of the wildlings and not Mance Rayder, because he's descended from Raymond Redbeard, and Jon is like, no, he's descended from Raymond Redbeard's brother, and to the wildlings, it's about the same as being descended from Raymond Redbeard's horse. That was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I mean that showed a complete lack of understanding of their culture and having no empathy towards their customs.
Exactly. Which is like we said, it's a common trope. And even Stannis has it. Even Stannis, even Ned. A lot of people have this like lack of understanding of other cultures in Westeros. Like,
well, not many people from Westeros have been beyond the wall or been to Essos to understand other cultures.
I mean, that's probably and also I'm not a biggest Dany fan either, but Dany and Jon having connections to those other cultures, would make them among the best candidates to lead Westeros in the future.
Well, the person who I want to say understand cultures would be Oberyn, since he traveled so much.
Oh, he does, but he does understand culture, and he's very open to all kinds of things.
Oberyn's also dead, so.
No, I know.
Mm-hmm. The Dornish in general are pretty open have a pretty open culture.
Obviously, James hasn't read the secret chapters where Oberyn comes back.
The zombie fanfic.
the Walking Dorn. Yeah. One thing I want to ask you guys here, because we got a couple of freaking good old Patchface lines in this thing. I mean, we all know Patchface as a gibbering fool, but sometimes in his gibberish, he reveals some shit in his gibberish. He reveals some real nuggets. I'll go ahead and read it out here. Like when they're talking about who will lead the ranching, he's like, "I will lead. We will march into the sea and out again. Under the waves, we will ride seahorses, and mermaids will blow seashells to announce our coming. Oh, oh, oh." And then later again, he says, "Under the sea, men marry fishes. They do, they do, they do." Now, gibberish, or is there anything in these lines that you think he might be saying?
Well, when it comes to Patchface, I think that it's clear that it's not gibberish, that it's going to have some meaning. The problem is discerning what that meaning is going to be. I think it's going to be one of those things where right now it makes no sense whatsoever, but when the event actually happens and you can look back on it, then it will make sense. Until then, I think it's almost impossible to discern what he's saying because it just doesn't seem coherent. So that's what I think about Patchface. I think it's important, but I don't know what it is.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, I was thinking mermaids, maybe something that has to do with the Manderleys, maybe. Seahorses. I don't know. House.
Oh yeah,
could be House Velaron, but Valerion, or I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, we know James says things impossible. Anyone have any ideas?
Not really. I mean, it could be like those. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, LT.
No, I was just agreeing with James and Jerry. It could be those two things, but I don't really got the answer to what it is.
You know what? I hadn't even thought of House Valerion or the Manderleys when it came to that, because I mean, because Patchface's stuff is so cryptic, it really is difficult to discern what it is he means until it comes to fruition. So yeah, I'm under no illusions whatsoever. I'm not trying to make myself look foolish, because I just honestly don't know what to make of it.
We can't get any tinfoil from you, Don Willie, can we?
No, because you know what? Until we know what under the sea means, then it's not gonna make sense.
Or under the waves.
I would assume under the sea has something to do with the Kraken for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what it would mean.
Well, I mean, that's the first thing you think of, especially since Bran had the vision of, Winterfell being under the sea, which had, was the dreams of, Theon coming in and taking over Winterfell. So, I mean, there is some precedent for thinking that, though.
I mean, well, you know what? Ricky Hunt from the chat just brought up something interesting. Says he always thought that under the sea meant dying and coming back again.
Oh, that's genius. I didn't even think of that.
Dying and coming. Okay, so I mean, if that's the case, under the sea, and we got mermaids, so I mean that does have to do with House Manderley could be bringing back a previously thought deceased. They're trying to bring back Rickon, who was previously thought to be deceased. Maybe that has something to do with that. I mean, these are just shots in the dark. We're not like.
Damn it, George! Can we get the freaking book already? Or at least can we get a chapter?
We've got plenty. Are you talking to Willie? Are you talking about another sample chapter? Or?
Yeah, can we get a sample chapter that helps us figure out Patchface at least?
See, I disagree with that. I mean, I guess you want as much as possible. I want the book because I feel like the sample chapters are going to be different when it comes out in the book. So we get them, and then they're going to probably be obviously a little different. That's what I think. I might be wrong, though.
Could be.
The Thunderclap here says that one of the Flint houses has a wave as their symbol.
Oh yeah, that's right. What is it like? Isn't like the tricolored waves or whatever? Yeah.
So under the waves, ride horses, ride seahorses, and that could have to do with the Battle of the Winter because we're going to have the Manderleys possibly facing off with the Flints.
Yeah, I mean,
are the Flints known as a naval house? I mean, I can't remember. Are they like by the sea, like the Greyjoys and like the Malisters? Are they a sea house?
Not that I remember. I think they're more inland.
Oh.
Oh man. But there is no book. Sample chapters is all we're gonna get.
Don't say that, Tron.
Oh man. All right. Well,
yeah. Let's move on to we got leathers coming. Oh no, actually, Melisandre has a little talk with Jon first. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, Melisandre comes in, and she's talking to Jon about why he needs to keep Ghost by his side, and Jon is basically chastising Mel about how every time you talk about seeing stuff in the flames, you're always wrong. I didn't see any, there weren't any daggers in the dark. There wasn't any dealings with the Great Other or the White Walkers or anything like that. You keep on talking all this gibberish about what you see in the flames, but so far none of it has come true. Yeah. Any thoughts on Jon and Melisandre's interaction there?
Well, I understand where Jon's coming from because, I mean, look, I don't think Jon. Well, okay, I can't remember. Does he know that that's not Arya? He doesn't know yet, right?
Yeah, he knows. He married That's exactly who he's referring to because.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
That the girl doing that was Alice Cart, and he married her. I think in the last chapter, he married her to the Thin.
Okay, that's right. So yeah, definitely that he knows that her visions could be like wrong, and that it could be, but maybe he's gonna feel differently if he gets resurrected by, I don't know, but yeah, it would be hard to believe her visions when they're kind of wrong.
Well, one, I think he was way too impatient. First off, I think you need to realize that his flaw was that blaming her that the visions were wrong. Her visions aren't wrong. Her interpretations are wrong. There's a huge difference. Her visions come true. It's just the way that they're interpreted is wrong. The way she interprets is wrong. Obviously, Daggers in the Dark came to fruition at the end of this chapter. We know her visions are true. They just are perceived wrong by her. And I think he should have had the foresight to realize that even though that it wasn't Arya, that her vision was right. There was a girl on a horse that came into where they were at. It just wasn't Arya. So he still should have had some gumption that she is capable, or that her visions could come true, and he needed to be more patient.
Oh yeah, I agree. This is exactly the point I was going to make. This is a big fail by Jon to not even realize that there's something there. Kind of similar to the way I thought Ned was a big fail when he killed Gareth, and he thought like, well, he's just a deserter. Like, I mean, the guy had been there for like what 50, 40 years, pretty loyal, and then all of a sudden goes crazy. Like, you wouldn't question to think, well, why? So something doesn't make sense here. This is just right here. Like, yeah, it may not have been Arya that it was, but it was there was a girl there. There was a great girl in the dying horse. So there's something there. and for him to completely dismiss it is just a huge screw up on his part.
I mean, well, you got to think about it like this, though, right? You know, he's hearing that Arya is alive for the first time in like maybe 2 years at this point. After not hearing anything after, you know, his father got captured and executed in King's Landing. And he's having to deal with the situation where he's supposed to be going north to rescue the rest of the wildlings from the White Walkers. And so, you know, the last thing he needs is some religious zealot who's intent on burning down the weirwoods and possibly burning non-believers and heretics, you know, feeding him misinformation. So for him, it's kind of like, look,
hold on. That's the point. She's not really feeding him misinformation. She's feeding him misinterpretation.
I mean, but
the fact that he's throwing the entire data out is a failure, is what we're saying. He's throwing the entire data out.
But the thing about it is, he's like, look, I have important things that I'm doing that are life or death. And in the midst of me having to make these life or death decisions, you're telling me things and getting my hopes up, and it turns out to be wrong. I don't have time to deal with this. So, yeah, you know, yes, Jon should have been more patient, but I think given the circumstances, I mean, you know, did you really expect him to sit back and really try to posit this out when his main focus has been, I need to save thousands of people from becoming whites?
I expect him to be like a mature leader and at least table it. Like, he might not need to try and solve the problem right now. You know, if you got to prioritize things. So if it's a lower priority, sure. But the fact that he completely dismisses it is bad. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, he's 15 years old, man.
Hey, I mean, 15 or not, he was elected. So there's no. They don't give you a curve and lead like when you're going up against like the others or whatever. They're not gonna give you a 15-year-old curve and say like, well, he's 15. Let's not go as hard as we can. No, you gotta be ready.
Yeah, the Night King is gonna say 16. I'm not gonna kill this boy.
Yeah, the 19's gonna be like, I was gonna swing harder, but since he's 15, I'll swing a little bit softer. That's not gonna happen.
I mean, I understand, but, you know, one thing at a time. It's like, look, if I'm trying to make rescue plans to save thousands of people, I can't be derailed by misinterpretation.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point I'm making is like he's completely throwing it in the trash. He's not like if you want to table it and put it a lower priority, that's fine. You know, you got to prioritize things. The fact that he throws it completely in the trash is where I have an issue with him.
I mean, listen, I understand that. You know, he's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which is not a good look. But I think it's because of, you know, his dealings with Stannis' whole camp. You know, they have been coming in and trying to impose their way of doing things, right? And impose their moral judgments, their cultural judgments. And he's like, look, I really don't have the mental space to deal with Selyse with her nonsense. I got Selyse's knights with their nonsense. I got to deal with the Night's Watch. I got to deal with the wildlings. And also, you know, I'm dealing with other northern houses because he's got whichever Karstark it is, he's got locked up in the dungeons. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that he's dealing with, and I just think that the thing about him getting his hopes up with Melisandre, and then it turning out not to be what they thought it was gonna be. It was just kind of like, you know what? No, I'm just get this out of here. because now I just need to focus on the important things that I actually can control and I can actually see for myself.
Look, you're probably right about that's how Jon thought of it. That's the game plan Jon does. But when you come out with the game plan like that, that's how you get caught slipping. That's all I gotta say. That's how you get caught slipping.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about Jon getting caught slipping here, you know, because right after he dismisses Melisandre, he gets a letter. He gets a letter with one word on the front, and that is bastard. And he decides to read the letter. The letter gives him some very startling information. And you know, we'll talk later about who we think could have possibly written the letter, but does anyone have the letter up there right now and would like to read it?
I have it up. I can read it.
Go ahead, James.
All right, the letter, it starts, "Bastard, your false king is dead, bastard. He and all his hosts were smashed in 7 days of battle. I have his magic sword, tell his red whore. Your false king's friends are dead, their heads upon the walls of Winterfell. Come see them, bastard. Your false king lied, and so did you. You told the world you burned the king beyond the wall. Instead, you sent him to Winterfell to steal my bride from me. I will have my bride back if you want Mance Rayder back. Come and get him. I have him in a cage for all the north to see, proof of your lies. The cage is cold, but I've made him a warm cloak from the skins of the 6 whores who came with him to Winterfell. I want my bride back. I want the false king's queen. I want his daughter and his red witch. I want this wildling princess. I want his little prince, the wildling babe. And I want my reek. Send them to me, bastard, and I will not trouble you or your black crows. Keep them from me, and I will cut out your bastard's heart and eat it. Ramsay Bolton, true-born Lord of Winterfell."
Bravo, James.
Yeah, so yeah, this is you know, a very contentious thing because you know, you have Jon who's trying to rescue thousands of people, and just as he's doing this, he gets a letter threatening his life personally. And it's one of those things where it's like he got put in a very impossible situation because you know he's not supposed to take part in the wars of the 7 kingdoms, but you know he's being threatened personally, and I'm not sure that there is a precedent for someone from the south of the wall. Yeah, I don't know that there's a precedent from anyone south of the wall ever threatening the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch or anyone from the Night's Watch openly like this. I mean, you know, we might find out later that, you know, there were some battles with northern houses or whoever, but I doubt that there's ever been someone who has openly said, yeah, you know, Lord Commander, whoever, I am coming to kill you if you don't meet my demands. I mean,
I'm sure there has been probably in the past. I mean, there's a long history here that we're talking about. Surely something like this, at least a conflict must have happened somewhere, at some time. But I get what you're saying. It's not something that's most people don't give a crap of what's going on up at the wall.
Right, and the whole thing is supposed to be like when someone goes to the wall, you're not supposed to touch them. That's, you know, that's kind of a cultural taboo. Once someone takes the black, you know, you leave them alone. But this is different because, you know, in this case, you know, the person that we know that is not Arya is the one that is on their way to the wall along with Reek. So Reek should be afforded the protection of the wall, but I don't know that that Jane Poole necessarily would be. And obviously there's the whole thing with Mance Rayder. and the Spearwives.
I mean, what really makes it even more complicated is one, yes, he sent Mance Rayder down there, so that's already interference, right? You throw in some interference.
Two, did Jon send him, or did Stannis send him, or Melisandre?
He knew about it.
Stannis did not know. Stannis doesn't even know Mance is alive. This is
but Jon
my
didn't order him to go, did he?
Jon knew about it.
Melisandre was
about it, but he didn't say, "I deem you, or you're going on this mission for me." It was Melisandre, wasn't it?
It was Melisandre's idea, but it was Jon's mission. Jon was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, Jon put his stamp on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but the question is, do you think that let's say Mance actually did get caught?
Before that, hold on, Don. Before that, that's the first thing he did. The second thing he did, where he kind of butted his nose into, things that weren't his business, was the Alice Karstark thing, where she came up to the wall. He imprisoned the other Karstark and then married her off to a Thin. Personally married her off. Like, he gave her away and everything. So, Jon is playing a little bit of Southern politics here, like prior to this letter coming out. So he's making this already gray area even more gray to the other side, for him.
Well, if you look at it, technically he's the heir to the throne, so he could do what he likes. He's the king.
I mean, we can definitely tell that, like, the things that he did, like, he was in the, he was morally in the right. However, it's just, it's not the way it's supposed to be, even if he was morally in the right of doing the things he did.
Yeah, he's not Nam. There's rules here,
Right. I mean, but okay. Well, the thing about it is that, and this is what I was gonna ask you guys. Now, do you think that if Mance Rayder actually got captured, do you think that he basically snitched on Jon?
Oh yeah, especially okay. We're not getting into who we thought, but if Ramsay did capture him and he's torturing him, I think he would snitch Jon out. I mean, yeah, definitely.
Let's explore this for a minute. Okay, so what happened? We did do the escape, right? Did we cover that chapter before?
No, I don't think we covered that chapter.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. We've done a lot of chapters.
I'm trying to think. So how would Abel get caught? Was he actually actively? I know the Spearwives were helping Theon leave. Was actually Mance doing it too, or was he just kind of in the background? I can't remember.
You know what? I don't remember either, as to whether or not he was kind of active with this whole thing. But I mean, the other thing to think about though is, even, like, first off, how, like, all right. So I'm guessing the logic is supposed to be here that at some point, the Spearwives got caught, and then maybe wound up giving them gifts, or they all got caught together.
So maybe the Spearwives are the ones that snitched everything, right? And Ramsay or whoever wrote the pink letter, whoever wrote the pink letter knows everything because of Spearwives. That's what you guys are saying?
Well, this is the assumption that hypothetically, this is the assumption that Ramsay would have wrote the pink letter.
Yeah. So Spearwives ratted him out.
Spearwives ratted him out. Then he tortured Mance. Then he got Mance. Then he tortured him. I mean, yeah, I could see that happening, I guess.
I mean, again, because there's so much that we don't know about what's currently going on inside of Winterfell or, Battle of Ice, we don't know how much truth there is to this.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. Yeah, I really wish I had a better idea as to what this is all about. But what's the funny thing too, though? Like, when Jon reads the letter to Tormund, I mean, because first off, he gives Tormund the letter to read. I don't know why he would think that Tormund even knew how to read. But you know, when he actually does read the letter, Tormund, I don't know, he doesn't seem too fazed by it. Or
yeah, he thinks it's bullshit right away.
Say it again?
He thinks it's bullshit right away. He calls bullshit right off, like from the beginning. He's like, yeah, well, you know, I could write that I have a foot-long penis, but don't make it true.
Right. I don't know. Any other thoughts on Tormund when it comes to the letter?
Yeah, I do have thoughts. I mean, I think that his reaction is a good indicator that it could be Mance that wrote the letter. Which, I mean, Tormund would know about it.
But how would Mance know Ramsay's characteristics? Because that's what I'm saying. This letter is all Ramsay's characteristics and what Ramsay would say. So how the hell would Mance know that?
Well,
what do you mean?
Well, no, other than the whole thing of flaying, I mean, remember, they talk about the handwriting. The handwriting, like, Ramsay has a very distinct handwriting, and then also, too, he normally attaches a piece of skin to the letter. You know, those are supposed to be kind of Ramsay hallmarks, which are not there. And then also, you know, the whole thing about I'm gonna, you know, cut out your bastard's heart and eat it. Not really a Ramsay kind of thing. You know, if anything, I could see Ramsay saying, like, I'm gonna come there, you know, cut off your skin and, you know, hang it on my mantle, so that every time the people come to Winterfell, they, you know, they'll see like the last son of Ned Stark hanging there or something like that.
Also, Ramsay, his previous letters were also written with like a flaky brown ink, which was presumed to be blood, and you would think that they would mention that if that was the case here.
There's nothing mentioned about it. So, but you know, when you say that, I will cut your bastard's heart and eat it. That is, cut your heart out and eat it. That is a more savage, or I won't say savage. That is a more of things you'll see like in tribal things. Like you would see that more from the wildlings. Stuff like that. You know what I mean?
So
that reminds me of that scenes in Last of the Mohicans where Magua cuts the dude's heart and he like grabs it. Like, ah!
Well, I mean, are we getting into what we think on who wrote it?
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's get into that.
Well, first off, you know, I know a lot of people think it's Stannis. I don't think it's Stannis because this was my rationale. And yeah, Stannis does not know that Mance is alive. He truly believes Mance is dead, and it's explicitly stated from Mel that she was hiding this information from him. And this is like this is part of the character character development of Mel realizing that maybe Stannis isn't the guy and Jon is Azor Ahai. Like, this is like part of that, because like, why would she hide it from Stannis? And it's because, you know, she's starting to have doubts. And so, and the part of the letter of now obviously the part about Reek, Stannis could know that because, you know, the way the timeline is all wonky right now, this could be, you know, written after Stannis got Reek. But the fact that this letter mentions Mance Rayder to me tells me that it's not Stannis, because Stannis truly believes Mance is dead. He knows that this letter is going to, if he knows this letter is going to Jon, and I'm not saying that Stannis is not beyond using deception, because he will use deception, but you know, the people that is getting this letter already knows, or that he believes in his mind Mance is dead, and he would believe that they would know that too. So I don't understand that ruse there, and the fact that Stannis doesn't know that Mance is alive tells me that it's not him. I mean, I personally, to me, the biggest motivation aside from Ramsay would be Mance, because he's trying to goad, you know, Jon to come down to Winterfell to rescue his ass, or something along those lines. And I thought maybe it could be Mel. Like, you know, Mel was trying to speed up she truly believes that Jon is Azor Ahai, and she could spur on Jon's death by this. Like, she saw in her flames, like, Jon will die, and then she'll be able to bring him back, and he'll come back as Azor Ahai. So she's trying to speed up that process, but I don't see how she would know who Reek is. That's the one flaw in that, is that I don't think she would know who Reek is, unless she somehow saw in her flames and saw Reek, but that seems far-fetched to me. So, I mean, to me, I think it's probably Mance, I guess. I don't think it's Stannis. I don't think it's Mel, just because of those flaws in the letter.
Quick question. So if Mance wrote it, you know, and I'm really confused since I've watched Tony Teflon's video on Stannis right now. I went back and watched Preston's about Mance. So I'm like really confused about who I think wrote it. I mean, I'm really confused. So my thing is, if Mance wrote it, does that mean that some of the letter is true, or do you guys think that he's just hiding in Winterfell and somehow got the letter off?
He's just hiding in Winterfell and sent the letter himself.
Any possibility that it could be Roose Bolton?
That would be the dun 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 if it was Roose. That would be hilarious. I would never expect that.
No, that's a good thought. I think that is more likely than actually Ramsay. Since like, if it is a Bolton, I think Roose is probably more likely than Ramsay.
I've never heard anybody say it was Roose. That's pretty cool that Willie said that.
Well, you know what's funny?
Yeah, I mean, if it's Roose or Ramsay, it really doesn't make a difference. I mean, they're on the same side. They're in the same spot.
I mean, honestly, like, to me, like, yeah, I don't think it's honestly, to me, I think that Mel actually had, like, the best motivation, if you think about it, because, like, she's trying to prevent Jon from going to Hardhome. Two, she's got the daggers dark situation. She might be, like, trying to send him, south to save, maybe even save his life, either save his life or accelerate his death so she can bring him back. One of those two ways. I think she actually has the most motivation here. To me, it's just the little Reek hang up. But, maybe, like, Mance sent off a letter and was, like, telling her, sent off a raven and told her the things that were happening in there. Or she saw in her flames and, saw someone called Reek or something. I don't know. Like, there's a little bit of a plot hole there, but to me, I actually think, and no one talks about her when it comes really to the red letter. People are so fixated on Stannis or Mance. But I actually, like, I would put Mel in possibility over Stannis at least, and maybe right there with Mance.
Yeah, I think if I had to rank them, I would put Mance 1, Ramsay or Roose. I mean, Ramsay or Roose, same thing. There's really no, like even if Roose wrote it doesn't really change anything as opposed to Ramsay. So I put that as number 2, and then right behind them I put Mel, and not even very far behind them.
If Roose wrote it, is it possible Ramsay's already dead?
No, does it matter?
Nah. But here's the thing, though, because, like, all right, when it comes to the signature on the letter, remember the signature is signed Ramsay Bolton. Now, the questions that I would have to ask, for one, like, for the people who think it's Stannis, would Stannis know that Ramsay had been legitimized? And even if he did know that Ramsay was legitimized, would he throw that title onto Ramsay, even in a deception? Because,
yes, he would.
I mean, but
Theon would tell him. Theon would tell him that he's been legitimized, and then he would. If he's trying to deceive you, absolutely, he would put that there.
Yeah, I'll just throw it out real quick. In terms of Ramsay, this could end up being one of those like George is just like, you guys are looking too far into it or something. Like maybe George even forgot sort of Ramsay's MO with previous letters or something. Or, you could say something like Ramsay was in such a rage after Reek escaped and all this is happening that, he just foregone his normal MO and with his letters and just said, fuck it, I'm writing this thing and get this sent out now. Just a thought that maybe something like that is also a possibility.
I mean, true indeed. What about the possibility of Wyman Manderley or maybe one of the Umbers?
I mean, that's possible, but highly unlikely.
I mean, how would the Umbers know about Mance, for one, and how would...
Yeah, the Umbers hate Mance, so we can eliminate the Umbers.
I mean, but...
Or not Mance, wildlings.
I mean, well, isn't an Umber, isn't one of the Umber forces inside of Winterfell?
No, they're outside of the Winterfell.
There's both in and out.
Oh yeah. One of them is in.
Right. So, I mean, you could definitely have a letter written from inside of Winterfell from one of the Umbers. But again, you know, like we're kind of, you know.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about everyone on the side of Ramsay. Everyone on the, like, it could be Lady Dustin for all I know. Like,
I was going to bring her up too.
What difference does that really make as far as inside of, like, one? Why do the Umbers or Lady Dustin or anyone in there that's on the side of Ramsay, on the side of the Boltons, why do they want Jon there? What do they gain out of it? That's what I want to know.
I mean, well, for one, listen, if it's Lady Dustin, we know that Dustin, or at least it appears that she hates the Starks. So to be able to get the last son, you know, that like what is presumably the last son of Ned Stark killed, you know, if she actually does hate him, then, you know, I could see that being a motivation.
Here's why I say no. Here's why I say no on anyone not Bolton. If they goat Jon in, they don't know. They might be goating into bringing in the entire Night's Watch, meeting up with, you know, eventually, you know, getting in contact with Stannis, teaming up with Stannis, and then if they team up with Stannis and they break in Winterfell, their ass is grass, so they just fuck themselves.
I mean,
I don't think they're going to do that.
I mean, we have to look at motivation and what makes narrative sense. Like, I don't think it would be just like one of the Umbers or like Lady Dustin or something, because you're taking on a large risk just to bring Jon there. You're risking bringing the Night's Watch there, and then getting found out that it was you, getting like steamrolled. Like, that's a big risk for that person.
Huge risk.
Like, to me, this is just someone. This is like either, like, you look at the motivation. Like, it was either Mel trying to save Jon from not going to Hardhome or getting him out of this place where the daggers are in the dark, or it was Mance trying to get his ass saved, or Stannis to try and help, you know, try to get more help down south against Winterfell, or it's Ramsay just acting like a rash asshole trying to, you know, goad him into coming down so he can kill him and get his shit back.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't see the motivation for someone else other than those people.
Agreed.
I mean, listen, very understandable. I'm not disputing any of that stuff. You know, at this point, you know, I'm just kind of throwing names out there and seeing it, you know, trying to throw out some of the non-typical names. And shout out to Ricky Hunt in the chat, because Ricky Hunt was actually the person that I got the whole idea of Roose from. But I was thinking, you know, possibly Lady Dustin, you know, just off of the way that she was talking. I mean, because remember, she knows that Theon is called Reek. And again, it seems as though she has a hatred for the Starks, especially Ned and anyone really connected to him.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't think it's Roose either, because one, Roose is calculating. Like, to me, that, like, I don't see like Roose doing this, because it puts him in a precarious position where if it does actually goad the whole Night's Watch coming down, it just weakens their position in a snowstorm. It makes it harder for them having two forces coming at them. So to me, like, this doesn't seem like a Roose move to me personally.
I mean, which is definitely understandable. Look, my argument for Roose in this particular instance probably would be him not really liking Ramsay all that much, honestly speaking. You know, look, he already knows that.
I mean, you can't just say I don't like him, and then oh shit, my army's defeated. I didn't like my son. Can you spare me? No, his ass is he's done if that happens. Like, so he can't sacrifice losing just to get rid of Ramsay, because that losing means he's dead.
I mean, but think about it like this, right? You know, even if you want to talk about the Night's Watch possibly marching in force, right? Because I don't think that they would count on the wildlings necessarily joining the fight. There aren't that many members of the Night's Watch.
Like 80, right? And they're like 80 since the Battle of the Wall.
At Castle Black, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like he's thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have to deal with the entire strength of the Night's Watch. Oh, this is gonna be so bad for me. And even Stannis' forces that are left there aren't that many. So it's like even if Roose is thinking about Stannis' forces and also the Night's Watch coming down, I mean, you got 2,000 max.
I mean, either way, it just seems like it seems like an unnecessary risk. Like I just don't see Roose. Like just me personally, I just don't see it. I don't see the motivation.
Yeah, there's no way you could. There's no way if you're trying to go Jon. There's no way to think that Jon's actually going to come alone. Like you have to be an idiot to just come alone. And sadly, that's exactly what he tries to do. But like no one. I don't think anyone would think. Yeah, if I send this letter, this commander is going to be like going alone. He's going to Leroy Jenkins out of here. No.
I mean, listen. You know what? We could be here all day on this one, and maybe after further analysis, maybe we should do, kind of a detective roundup, and try to see like, okay, who's definitely eliminated as a suspect, and who could have possibly wrote the letter, just based off of their motivations. So that we don't get stuck on this topic, let's kind of move on this one. Because after this is kind of where things start to get a little interesting in terms of Jon having a very tenuous command over the situation altogether, because now he decides he's going to bring everybody together in the Shield Hall. And the Shield Hall was interesting because, they talk about how you have so many different shields from all of these different knights that have joined the Night's Watch over the thousands of years, and how there aren't as many as there used to be because of the fact that you no longer have as many people joining the Night's Watch. Any thoughts on some of the sigils that we see? Because there's a lot of sigils that are mentioned. We definitely get some Lannisters in there. We get some Rains, some Tarbecks. Who else? They definitely mentioned dragons. So I'm guessing there may have been other Targaryens that joined the Night's Watch. Unless does anyone know of any other houses that have any dragon banners?
I mean, it might have been earlier houses that are no longer in existence from Valyria that might have come to help. I mean, I think it just goes to show that back in the day, the threat was when the threat was fresh in their mind. Everyone was together on this. Everyone, believed in this cause. The threat was real. Now that
it was great back then.
What was that, LT?
The Night's Watch was great back then.
Yeah, it might have been. Well, I mean, we don't really know, but it's possible it was great back then. But I mean, at least it had a purpose. They were together. They had a common goal, and everyone believed. In what they were fighting against. So now that I think it's just like a kind of a different shows that what we got now. The Night's Watch basically made up of the North and criminals of all over Westeros.
Yeah. Well, Jon gathers everybody in the Shield Hall. He's, and he's noticing different factions, and he's telling them about the letter. He reads the letter to them, and Jon, is like, "Hey, I was supposed to go to Hardhome, but I'm sending Tormund." And the first thing that they kind of think is, "Oh, you're sending Tormund because you're gonna be, you're trying to cower here." And then after he reads the letter and tells them like, "Hey, look, this is the reason why I'm sending him instead of me, because I'm gonna go south." And he's like, "Hey, look, unless unless you guys want to come, I'm not gonna command anybody to come with me, because it's not a Night's Watch problem per se. It is a Jon Snow problem." And it seems that he got a lot of people on his side with this one. My question here is there anyone here who thinks that that Jon was actually forsaking his vows by doing this?
I'll tell you who thinks he might have been forsaking his vows. Jon Snow himself. He thinks it. And he frames the question in the way that, like, I'm not giving you a command. This is a personal thing for me, as in he is taking on something personal that he vowed he would never do. So, yes, he is absolutely breaking his vows right here. And I don't know what he was thinking. How did he not read the room when Bowen Marsh and them all left and their men left with them, that they were going to be just, making a bad decision. Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. We're not going to be part of it, but that's cool. Like, I don't know why he would.
Like, I understand, but I mean, again, this is a unique situation where you have a lord from the Seven Kingdoms who is threatening the Lord Commander personally, and basically is saying that he is going to march on Castle Black.
Then he needs to say that they're threatening the Night's Watch. He did not frame it like that.
No, he didn't. He didn't. I mean, because technically Ramsay did not threaten the Night's Watch. He threatened he threatened the Lord Commander.
Well, then that's what he doesn't need to say. He needs to frame it as a threat on me is a threat on the Night's Watch. It's a threat on all of us.
Well, if somebody came to the wall like Brandon did, to try and challenge Rhaegar, would the Night's Watch arrest him, or would they let that person go out there and fight him?
No, they'd arrest him.
Back to the real quick, back to the Shield Hall. Apparently, House Tolland of Dorne, Sammy Sand put in the chat that they actually had a dragon for their sigil. So I don't know. James, your thoughts on this one. Was Jon forsaking his vows by answering this threat?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we could argue that he was, doing what he thought was right. He was in the morale, in a doing what was morally right. But in the end, he forsaked his vows. And I think this is part of, once again, I think a part of what George is writing about is the absurdity of oaths, vows, all of it. All of it's absurd, and the consequences in this world are real when you forsake your oaths and vows, regardless of how stupid they are. But yeah, he definitely went against what he was supposed to.
LT?
And I did look up House Toland, and they do indeed have a dragon on their banners.
Okay. LT?
Without a doubt, he was forsaking his vows. But remember the words of House Tully: family, duty, honor. So family first, duty second, honor third. And he thought his baby sister was in trouble. So I stand by his decision 100%. Because family's most
He made a
important.
vow that he would forsake his
Jerry,
he's no longer
I'm
part of
saying,
the family.
Jerry, family's
That's
most.
not his family anymore. When he made the vow, part of the vow was not part of the family.
Shush!
No.
Jerry, so wait, so you're gonna put your honor and your vows. Wait, Jerry, let me finish. You're gonna put your vows and your honor over your family in this situation.
I wouldn't have made those vows because I don't believe in those vows. But hey, Jon did.
You're arguing for this guy. Whatever, dude. All I know is family's the most important thing, and I would have done the same thing. So whatever, Jerry.
Then he shouldn't have joined the Night's Watch if family was the most important thing.
I mean, well, look, to be fair, Jon wasn't given much of a choice.
What do you mean? He was the one begging for it. He's like, let me join.
He was begging for it, but if you remember... He was begging for it
in Jon Chapter 1, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, or whatever, but why was he begging for it?
Because he didn't like his family.
No.
Or they didn't like some people of his family. No. He didn't think there was a place for him there.
Right, but so what was he supposed to do? You got to think about it. Catelyn was not going... Wait up. Catelyn was not going to let him stay at Winterfell. She made that very clear. Like, as soon as Ned got that letter, and he was like, okay, fine, I'm going to go to King's Landing... Literally, like, you know, the next thing out of Catelyn's mouth, as soon as Ned said, okay, fine, I'll go and take the position of hand of king, the first thing that Catelyn says to him is, Jon can't stay here.
But I think that was after. That was after because that was after Jon won. So Jon was already asking before this. Jon already wanted it before this. 2, that's not the only job a bastard can do. Like, he can do other things. It doesn't have to be that, but...
No, but I mean, like, he had no place. He had no place.
Oh, there could have been other options, but he jumped to the Night's Watch because he knew they're fighters. He wants to fight. He just wanted to be part of it. Like, he knew that bastardry didn't really mean anything there. So
right, but you know, but again, he had no other place to go.
He could have done. There could have been other options. He jumped.
What other options? Where were you gonna go, Jerry?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right now. No. At no point did anyone else say to him, Jon, you can do this.
They didn't even explore options because he was already asking that before that, and because that was the breaking point for Ned to be like, okay, you can do that, because Caitlyn was like, okay, you get him out of here. He's like, oh, okay, you can go to the Night's Watch after all.
I want to hear these options that Jerry's got, because look, he couldn't go to court, he couldn't stay at Winterfell, Jerry. So where could he have gone?
Oh, Ned could have definitely kept him at Winter. Like you said, no, he's going to stay here. The way he put his foot down when he said,
he could have stayed at Winterfell. Like he could have ended up being like, you know, Jory Cassell. He could have been like captain of the guard or something.
Like, Catelyn may not have liked it, but Ned could have put his foot down eventually. But Ned didn't have to because Jon was begging to go to the Night's Watch. He made it easy for him.
You know, listen,
to say there was no options is just wrong.
This is kind of
he never let anyone explore options.
The other kind of thing, man. Because at the end of the day, look, it would be one thing if we, as the audience, as the reader, were presented with better options for Jon, and then we could look in hindsight and say, you know what, Jon, you could have chosen this. You didn't have to go to the Night's Watch. But at no point during this story did anyone, not Jon, not Ned, not Catelyn, nobody, no one else said, hey, you know what, Jon, you don't have to go to the Night's Watch. There's something else that you can still do that's honorable, that will make you feel welcome. No one said anything other. It was just kind of like, well, yeah, you know, Ned's going to King's Landing. Catelyn doesn't want you here. So, yeah, I guess Night's Watch is the only option you got, kid. Okay, cool, go.
That's not the only option. It's just the most pleasant option for, you know,
but no one ever said anything else about another option. There's never
one point. Like, I don't know. He could be working the freaking the stables if he wanted to. I mean, it's not as.
He could have went joined the Golden Company.
What if Catelyn did not want him there? Period.
That doesn't matter. Catelyn didn't want. Catelyn never wanted Jon there to begin with. He was there, wasn't he?
But you know what? With Ned not actually being there to enforce that. With Ned not being there to actually enforce that, it might have been a different situation.
If Ned would have just got on her the way when she was probing about Jon, never asked me about Jon, he would have been there. He would have stayed there. He didn't have to do that because Jon wanted to go to the Night's Watch.
But why did he want to go to Night's Watch? He wanted to go to the Night's Watch because of the way that he was being treated.
There. But that doesn't mean it's his only option. That's the point. Just because you feel that's your best option, that does not mean it's the only option.
Well, this whole argument started because I said family's an important thing, and then Jerry, you said, well, you shouldn't have joined Night's Watch. Okay, that's right, you're right. But I'll tell you right now, I love my country, I love America, but if my sister was in trouble, I would desert to save her life. That's just the point I'm making.
Yeah. Well, the military would probably. Our military doesn't ask you to forsake your family, so you'd be all right.
Well, look, either way, you know, we're starting to kind of get off in the woods on this one. Look, you know, it's one of those things where, all right, we are kind of in agreement that Jon did forsake his vows. With this one, and you know we'll get into the whole thing of whether or not he deserved his fate at the end. I wanna you know keep going through the order of this whole thing here. You know, so as Jon is going to tell Queen Selyse about this, we hear basically a commotion coming from the courtyard. Jon hears a scream, and he thoughts he's thinking at first that it might have been Alice Karstark, and then he was like, "No, that is a man screaming. Let me go find out why this man is screaming." And he sees one basically pummeling a knight to death, and basically, you know, doing what Incredible Hulk did to Loki in Avengers. Now, I don't know, man. Listen, you know, does anyone have any idea as to why 1-1 went crazy like that?
I think he was provoked.
Yeah, provoked or threatened somehow.
Yeah.
The question is how, though. Like, what?
I think
maybe. Go ahead, Jerry.
I mean, okay, so what do you think that that some of Selyse's men just rolled up?
No. I think it was one of the stewards that did it.
One of the stewards from the Night's Watch?
Yep.
Yeah, but if that was the case, why would he, you know, attack Sir Patrick then?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he might have just been in the vicinity. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were. I mean, it could just be incidental, but I have a feeling that they were trying to cause a distraction.
I think Sir Patrick did something because George put that guy, the whole thing, that guy was a Cowboys fan and he hates the Cowboys, so maybe that guy said something or did something to 1-1 for him to attack him.
Well, I mean, obviously they had their previous interaction, their previous altercation, and, you know, maybe he was fucking drunk and over there provoking the giant because he's stupid and drunk or something. You know, we don't know what happened, but it could be something as simple as that.
Yeah, it could be something simple, or it could be one of Yarwyck and Bowen Marsh's men doing it.
So, but Jerry, you believe it was the stewards that actually somehow provoked this?
Or the builders.
Or the builders. Interesting.
Well, because, I mean, those are the ones that left the Knights. Well, it's probably because the stewards were the ones that stabbed Jon in the end. So they're going to want to, you know, cause a distraction to come up and do the For the Watch thing.
You know, it was the thing that kind of got me Um. So I'm not sure. But so Tormund is the only one that blows a horn at any point in this chapter.
I guess.
Because I know he blows a horn inside the hall. Um, and I don't know, maybe I was you know, like, cause I listened to the chapter right before we came on, and maybe I heard wrong. I've listened to this a few times, and for some reason, I keep on thinking that I've heard a horn outside, like that there was a horn outside, and I'm thinking that was what set off to 1-1.
So someone blew a horn? You're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, well, because remember, the Horn of Jormungand is supposed to the Horn of Jormungand is supposed to be you know, like either it breaks down the wall or it wakes up giants from being asleep.
Yeah. So you think any horn would send them in a frenzy?
I don't know that it was any horn. I think someone might actually have the Horn of Jormungand and blew it.
Wait a minute. What, you think the horn of Jormungand's there at the wall?
Yeah.
I don't recall hearing any horn being blown.
Yeah, I don't recall that either.
Like I said, maybe I was I don't know. Maybe I was misinterpreting. That's why I was saying. That's why I was asking if anyone remembered anything about
the one that they claimed they had. I thought Melisandre burned it to glamour Mance and Rattleshirt.
Right, with the glyphs and all that stuff, and they said that like the glyphs danced, in the fire or whatever, right? But again, we don't know how many horns are out there that are basically magic horns and all that. So,
well, I mean, in this chat, from Jon's POV anyway, he didn't hear any horn, so I don't know if that's the case. I just think it was Sir Patrick being drunk, talking shit, getting fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the case.
Maybe he told. Oh, go ahead, Willie. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just done. Go ahead, LT.
I was gonna say maybe Sir Patrick looked at one and said, "If I was as big as you, I'd rule the fucking world."
What if a steward blew the horn while one was near Sir Patrick? Send him into a frenzy.
Right. I mean, because like I said, I know
not a horn and drum on just any horn, just a horn. They have a horn.
Right, but I mean, like I know definitely, Tormund does blow a horn, but I don't know. I gotta go back again, and see one more time if there was anything that I might have missed. But yeah, after that whole altercation, where Jon is trying to get 1-1 to calm down, is where we get the infamous For the Watch. Now in the show, there was a whole thing where they made a bunch of people kind of do that. They all kind of lined up taking turns saying For the Watch. In this case, it was Bowen Marsh.
First took the slash.
Say that again.
Wick Whittlestick first tried to get Jon, and Jon did some karate moves on him.
Yeah, Jon was resisting, but in the book, in the show, no resist at all.
Right. I mean, well, that was the thing where he literally just kind of walked into that whole thing in the show where it was a surprise.
Oh, Benji was alive.
Yeah. Yep. Deception.
Yeah, and then the next thing you know, Bowen Marsh comes up with the whole For the Watch thing. I don't know. I mean, like, do we think that Jon deserved to be stabbed?
Well, did Garrett deserve to be his head cut off by Ned?
No, of course not. I mean, but if we're looking at it in the context of Jon has forsaken his vows.
I mean, look, from our point of view, no, he didn't. But if you put him in their shoes, in their laws, I mean, what would have happened if the same thing happened, but Ned was still alive, and they took Jon Snow to Ned? Ned would have cut his head off because that's just the way it is. So. I mean, from our point of view, yeah, he didn't deserve it, but from their point of view, it is what it is.
Absolutely, and if you're going from their point of view, they absolutely did the right thing. One, he broke the law. Then the penalty of that law is death, as we saw in the very first, not the prologue chapter, but the very first chapter with Ned cutting off the vow breaker's head off, and then also. There's also you got to do it just for the protection of the watch. You say you let Jon even go. You let him go there, cause a ruckus in Winterfell. Even if Ramsay beats Stannis and Jon, what the fuck is going to happen then? You think Ramsay's just going to be like, Lord Commander, you died now? No, he's going to bring the fucking shit down on the Night's Watch. So they got to fucking do it. They got to protect the Night's Watch too.
Wait, you think that even if Jon would have went by himself, 100% alone, no backup, that Ramsay still would have came to destroy the Watch after that?
Yep, he's that crazy.
Well, I think that the stupid thing is these guys are gonna all end up dead regardless, because and this is even before I saw the show that Jon's gonna come back. But regardless, those wildlings, there's way more wildlings than the Watch. So I obviously think those guys are gonna get it. Who all that stabbed Jon Snow.
Yeah, I don't think
depends how fast they resurrect Jon.
I mean, look, even if they don't resurrect Jon, you got to think Jon was the person holding together the peace there. There aren't enough men from the Night's Watch to defend.
Well, they're also leaving now.
They're also what now?
They're going to Hardhome. Remember Tormund?
No, but
they haven't worked in the Hardhome mission now since Jon got stabbed.
Well, no, Tormund was going to lead them to Hardhome.
No, but you think Tormund's going to leave the wall after Jon got stabbed? Come on.
No, I'm saying he's going to lead the wildlings to Hardhome.
No, but I'm saying, you think he's still going to do that since Jon's dead? No.
He might. I mean, it depends. Does he see Jon get... I thought they're going to throw Jon in the set. It depends if they can hide it. They could potentially hide Jon's body and be like, yeah, he went to Winterfell. Why don't you go on your mission now?
Or who knows with who knows with the timeline anyway? Maybe they already left. I know he was in here right before the happened,
that's possible.
We don't even know how the timeline works. So,
I mean, well, I think
they might just say, "Hey, he left to Winterfell, man. Why don't you go on your mission?"
I don't know. I think there might have been too much commotion at that time because remember this was a thing where
that actually could work in their favor. If they get Jon's body out of there, they can be like, "Yeah, one was going crazy. Jon just left. Then one went nuts." Well, can you calm him down and then go on your mission?
I mean, I don't know. I have a tough time believing that it would just be that clean. That they would get away that clean before. They
don't even have to clean up they don't even have to clean up the blood because they can be like Sir Patrick's blood.
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is, look, this happened. It was a thing where it's all right, well, cool, we're here, we're gonna, you guys are gonna make for Hardhome. I got people that are gonna go with me to Winterfell, and then it's there's this commotion outside. I'm pretty sure at some point somebody would have told Tormund, hey, yeah, these guys are, outside stabbing Jon right now.
Maybe if they saw it. We don't know. We'll
Well,
find
my
out.
thing is too. Okay, say they don't cover it up. Say it's they find out that Jon was stabbed. What is Queen Selyse's men going to do? Are they going to back, those criminals that stabbed Jon? Or are they going to? What are they going to? How are they going to respond?
Oh, they're definitely going to stand by Jon or by the Night's Watch. Because I mean, you can't even say they're criminals because they did everything by the law. So.
No,
yeah,
they
because-
they would have to execute him. They just not stab him.
Why? Why would they have to execute him?
When have you ever read that the Night's Watch just went and Caesared their Lord Commander?
Well, when have you ever seen a Lord Commander? Yeah, okay, I've seen one where the Night's Watch went and had to kill their Lord Commander, though, and it was because the commander broke their vow. He was called the Night's King.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think they executed them.
Well, they didn't do that in some secret thing. It was a mission. It was a war.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Look, they can easily say Jon broke his vows. Jon, by law, under King Stannis, which is how they would frame it, deserters get executed. We did the law under King Stannis. So I mean, they can't say that they're criminals. If you're saying they're criminals, then you're saying like Ned Stark's a criminal for cutting off Garrett's head.
So when he wakes up and it's going to be like the show, his watch is over basically, and they can't do nothing to him.
Okay, wait. So I was going through the chapter, and actually there was a horn blown. Now that I'm reading through it again, at the Shield Hall, it says at the top of the hall a sagging platform stood. Jon mounted it with Tormund Giantsbane at his side and raised his hands for quiet. The wasp only buzzed the louder. Then Tormund put his war horn to his lips and blew a blast. So that Tormund definitely did blow a horn, and it was right after this because it was in the Shield Hall, and they were talking about how some Night's Watch along with the wildlings were going to go to the Hardhome, and he was going to ride to Winterfell alone. And then it was right after that when 1-1 was going crazy. So maybe there is a connection there.
Okay, so I mean, look, I was about to say, I didn't remember whether or not it was Tormund blowing the horn or if there was another horn, but I was like that happened with 1-1 going crazy after a horn being blown at some point.
But I don't think it was the horn of Jormungand. It might just been something that was accidental or something.
But why would a war he's obviously blown that war horn before. Why would that turn 1-1 into a craze?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just saying that a horn was definitely blown.
Oh, okay, yeah, it did happen. Okay.
And there wouldn't have been a time I was saying that maybe some time went ahead before the events of Jon stabbing. No, this happened right after that meeting at the Shield Hall. So Tormund is still at Winterfell.
That's what I'm saying. There's going to be chaos at the wall when the Winds of Winter starts, and we left off where we were at.
See, I know what I'm talking about. Damn it.
I mean, they could also easily make, even though they don't like the wildlings, they could easily say we're still with you, but this is what.
I mean, we'll have to see what happens, but I mean, like I said, to me,
it's all going to depend on diplomacy. They're going to have to roll their diplomacy check, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, to me, it is what it is, and I think Ned would have executed them all the same. So, I mean, we could talk about. What's
Jerry,
actually, I don't even know. Stannis is less rigid than Ned because he was telling Jon to break his vows and go become king of Winterfell. So
this is true.
I don't know.
So Jerry, is Jon wrong for killing Ollie and Alistair in the show for killing them?
Yeah, because he didn't break his vows in the show, right? I don't think he broke. You're right. You're right. The show.
Yeah, the show was I felt like in the show it was done stupidly.
Oh, they were killing them just because they didn't want the wildlings there, basically, right?
Yeah. Just another way the show fucked up. So
yeah, they did deserve. Yeah, in the show they did deserve to get hung.
Mm-hmm. Now they deserve to get hung too. So.
Man. All right, any final thoughts on this chapter and also predictions going forward?
My final thought. Oh, go ahead, Jerry. I'm sorry. You're first.
I was gonna say Jon knew he was breaking his vows. He knew what the consequences were. He saw the reaction in the room. What happened when he read the letter and mentioned he was gonna break his vows? Should have known what was gonna happen. Got caught slipping. This is what happens when you get caught slipping. That's the way game throwing goes.
And you know, go ahead, James. Sorry.
I mean, I was just say, obviously, in terms of future predictions, I think obviously we're going to get Jon and Ghost, as show didn't do it, but we're going to get Jon and Ghost, which will be interesting to see. And I'm not sure exactly how he's going to be resurrected, but obviously that's going to be a thing that's going to happen. Obviously. Obviously I've talked about how I believe that maybe Mel will burn Selyse to bring back. Well, actually, I don't think that. But I don't know how it's going to happen. But obviously, Jon will come back. And in terms, like I said, yeah, we can say that in our point of view that Jon didn't deserve death. But in their point, if you put yourself in their shoes, Jon was an outbreaker. And the way that the people back then in Westeros took how seriously they took their oaths. If the Kingslayer can be looked upon as a deviant and a miscreant because he killed the most evil man at the time, well then, and this is part of the law in terms of deserting the Night's Watch, you get beheaded, then he deserved what came to him.
Yeah, pretty much. And I agree. We all know Jon's coming back. We knew it before the fucking show showed us that he was coming back. How he comes back, we'll find out. I don't know if it'll be as simple as Melisandre, but could be because that's what we saw on the show. There's also him skin changing into ghosts. That could make things more complicated. We'll see. But yeah, we'll find out.
LT.
I want to see Willie's prediction. How Melisandre, or was it Willie or JB, the one where you said that she's gonna be thinking she's resurrected or praying for Azor Ahai and is it Stannis and it's Jon instead? Which one of you guys said that? One of you guys said that. I know you did.
That was me.
Yeah, I want that to come true. No, I never in a million years thought Jon was coming back until I reread the book. The first time I read the book, I had no idea. I thought he was gone. That George likes to kill off characters, but on my second reread I did. Unfortunately, I just wish that the show wouldn't have spoiled that because I would love to see it in the books before the show. It's funny too because reading on after this chapter, you'd think this would be like the last chapter of the book, a cliffhanger, but it wasn't. We got other chapters after it, but it's still a cliffhanger. Overall, George's great writing, and the thing about the shields is awesome. Seeing how the Watch was great once, and just all the different houses, and it's just we want to see what happens next. Can't wait.
We got a question.
Also, for me, it was the second reread that I noticed that Jon's probably going to come back, and I started thinking that. The first reread, just like LT, I was well, he's gone.
All right, we got a question from the chat here from Sammy Sand. Says, will resurrecting Jon have any other effects?
Depends on how he gets resurrected and what happens the moment he died. Obviously it had effects on what's his name, Beric Dondarrion. Beric Dondarrion's a white.
He's gonna be a emo samurai like he was in the show.
I mean, well, yeah.
No, I mean, I was just saying, in all seriousness, I do think that there's going to be some changes to him. Obviously, it's kind of been hinted at, and I think that if he's going to be part of as a wolf for a while, I think that you could see, maybe he'll have more of an edge to him, more of a feral edge to him, or something along those lines.
One thing I think that might happen is this might be the last Jon POV we ever get.
And you know what's funny? I was literally about to ask, do we get any more Jon POVs after this? Because, it seems as though any of the monarchs who happen to be like any of the male monarchs in Westeros do not get POV chapters. And, since RLJ is pretty much a foregone conclusion, him being resurrected as the savior, I think would definitely just put him in that, okay, he doesn't get a POV anymore. But I don't know. I would love to see a chapter called Azor Ahai Reborn, where it is written in such a way that to the person who hasn't really been doing all of this speculation, that you wouldn't be able to tell whether or not it's Stannis or Jon for a few pages at least.
Well, I mean, me personally, I may be in the minority in this, but I do think that we will continue to get a Jon POV. And I know that we didn't have previous monarchs or whatever have POVs, but I just think that we obviously know Jon is one of the major focuses of the book, and I don't think George would have Jon be just a periphery character in someone else's POV. I think Jon will continue being a POV, just from a narrative sense. To me, it makes more sense.
I mean, yeah, it definitely makes sense, but it would fall in line with the whole thing that George has done thus far of not giving any of the kings a POV.
But he's not really a king yet, so I mean, we don't really have to worry about that. I mean, he's been a Targaryen this whole time, and we've had a point of view. The way I might see that he might not be a point of view is if he remembers what it was like to die. I don't think George will want to give up that piece of information. But if he goes into Ghost and he's just ghosting around for a while, and then his body gets resurrected and he goes back into his body, and it's like he never died, then I could definitely see, POV going back.
That's kind of what I see happening. Like, I think we're gonna get we'll get a POV that says a ghost, and it's like Jon in his thoughts, sniffing around, eating food, and contemplating what happened to him, and then eventually he'll get resurrected, and that's how I see it happening.
I mean, listen, I definitely cannot disagree at all. That it makes a lot of sense.
Ricky Hunt's trying to say that they had no leaders of the monarch. They got nobles of because Quentin is he's a prince, but he's not really in line. He's not the heir to Dorne.
Right. We we didn't get anything out of
although we did get the heir of Dorne. We got Ariana.
Right, no, but we didn't get whatchamacallit, their father.
Yeah, we didn't get Doran.
Yeah, we didn't get anything from Doran Martell, so we haven't seen anything from the perspective of any rulers other than Dany. I mean, and even currently she's still technically not a ruler yet. She isn't she doesn't fully have the title of Queen Daenerys or anything. She's still Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea and all that. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I'll tell you one thing we will not see. We won't see is Jon coming back and then everyone pretending like he just came back from an MCL sprain or something and then not make a big deal out of it. I'll tell you, that's definitely not going to happen. If he comes back, it's going to be a big deal. Or when he comes back, it'll be a big deal. It won't be like you just shrug it off. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Stub my toe.
How long do we think he stays dead?
It could be long time. It could be short time. The book. I mean, we'll see.
I'll take a guess of page numbers. Say when the winner is 1,100 pages. Just say hypothetically. I'm saying by at least 200 pages he'll be back.
I think it's going to be more towards the end. I think George is going to milk that more.
Sorry about that.
So you're saying at the 500 mark?
Yeah, maybe 500, 600 mark. But I think it'd be cool if he's ghost for a while. There's shit going down at the Night's Watch, you know. It could lead to some really good drama, you know.
All right. Well, what I'm saying is like not how long in terms of pages, but how long in terms of like, do you think, you know, a couple hours,
time-wise?
A couple of days, a week. I mean, it obviously can't be too long because Jon.
Well, why not?
No, because you don't want a Lady Stoneheart situation where the body is already kind of. Really
but he's in a cold situation. Lady Stoneheart was
in a cold situation, and he can skin change into an animal that, you know, obviously Caitlyn couldn't. But
the body is still going to be decomposing.
Yeah, but his body will be preserved in the ice, in the snow, as opposed to Cat was in a fucking river in a mild situation. I mean, she was going to be bloated and nasty. I think Jon's body would be much more preserved.
I mean, listen, I'm not giving it more than a week. Anything more than a week, and I think it might actually be.
What happens to bodies when skin change their skin? Does it go in like a status?
I don't think so.
So the heart continues beating and flowing and everything. All things fun. Like they gotta take a shit and they gotta like skin change. Is it possible they just might like dump all over the place while their skin change?
No, I mean I think the body's processes in terms of like, you know, having to move your bowels or be hungry or anything like that. Like the skin changer wouldn't actually experience that, but you know, it like they still have to breathe.
I imagine it's very similar to being in a coma. That's what I would think. So they still have to have the normal function. They have to have someone, you know, care for them essentially. I would imagine it's like just like being in a coma.
Well, you know what? That's another question for George. If we ever get to ask him any damn questions. All right, so anything else we want to say about this chapter or Jon or anything before we wrap up?
The great words of Samuel Tari, he always comes back.
Yeah, it would seem that way. James, Jerry?
No, I don't really got anything to say. I mean, I already said it. The way Game Thrones goes, and you get caught slipping.
Yeah, pretty much said everything.
I hope he burns in 7 hells. That's it.
James?
I pretty much said everything I needed to say. Just vote for the Theon chapter next time.
Listen, go back to the beginning. Prologue. Game of Thrones prologue. Listen, everyone, make sure that you are following the Hype Swatch on Twitter. We will be putting up a poll for our next reread. Hopefully we won't have some of the technical difficulties we have been experiencing. I don't know, man. Look, we don't want to go back to Hangouts. Hangouts was kind of crude. But OBS is problems beyond problems sometimes. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hangouts is like the Night's Watch is now, right? OBS is like what the Night's Watch used to be, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Listen, we would definitely like to thank everyone who came in and hung out with us while we did this today. Sorry for the late start, but those who are going to be watching later aren't going to notice that anyway. Anyway, yeah, guys, you want to let the people know where they can find you on social media or what you guys are up to? LT?
Just you find me on the Hypes Watch. Follow my Twitter is the same as my YouTube, Selyse Giles. Yeah, nothing from me. Just find me on the Hypes Watch.
James?
Same for me. You can find me on the Hypes Watch. You can go to JBTV if you never want to get new content, and it's at JBush55 on Twitter.
Jerry Targaryen Steamboat.
Yeah, again here at the Hypes Watch. You can try and follow me on Twitter at Jared_Rodriguez. That's all I got to say. Or you can look up Broken Jerry.
Yes, because you are a broken man, Jerry. So sad, so sad.
Broken man.
Yeah, listen, you can find me at Don Willie on Twitter. Find me at my channel, Don of Ice and Fire. Every week, mostly, I do Ice and Fire opinions. Hit me up, because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do for this next one. And I have to redo my Aegon stream because the audio came out beyond horrible on that one. And I apologize. I got to make that up to you guys. All right. Yeah, again, thank you to everyone who joined us today. Thank you to all those who will be watching us in the future. And don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends to come back for more. That has been our time here at the Hypes Watch. My name is Don Willie, and we are saying Vala Doharis. See you next month.
Vote Theon.